Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
Because that would be stupid.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
I approve this message.
I really, 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 really don't see Apple ever doing that. I am Nadella.
I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I am here with Caleb.
Hello.
And Landon.
Hey.
And we're here to talk all things tech.
Yeah.
Well, for this week, anyway. Next week, no. We'll save that for next week. But...
What? I'm confused.
Hey, you wanted me to host. Anyway.
That's true.
I need to try and do like some kind of cool like host voice. Come up with something like that, like some kind of sling or some like, welcome everybody. I think that would be kind of fun.
You know, I think you're giving us more and more reasons why we need to find a new Windows guy.
Guess what? Job security. No one talks about it but me. Just kidding.
Yeah,
that's fair.
True.
But anywho, how about today we start with some Google news, because Landon is just oozing and oozing with Google news right now.
I don't know about oozing, but there's definitely one thing of Google news.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go ahead and take it over, buddy?
All right, Google was fined $5 billion with a B, yes.
Yeah, a B.
$billion.
Billions.
By the European Union, because they like to do that to big tech companies based out of America.
Go figure.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. So they're doing this because they're saying that Google is forcing companies to use their Google apps on Android, which is kind of true. And they're saying it makes it so there's less choice of what to use on Android because people just use, like, because these are the default apps, you know, they argue that's a bad thing. But, you know, the whole thing behind Android is you can change all of your defaults.
Yeah, that's true.
Whenever you want.
I think that's...
Except the one thing I don't know if you can change is Google Search. But most people aren't going to use something besides Google Search other than Wes, who uses Bing.
Who would switch to Bing, yeah.
Yeah.
What about all those people who want
Points,
to Bing instead of Google?
I'm right here. Bing! No, so... Okay, when you say, obviously, your search... That's what you're talking about, your search engine? Just when you type something in
your
for
default
search,
like, because the Google search bar is just there.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
Granted, you can download a different launcher, and I'm pretty sure you can change it there. Like, you use Microsoft's launcher.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you use Bing through the search?
Yep. The search bar that comes up is a Cortana/Bing based.
See?
And then, obviously, if I go... if I use Edge, then I can set up my Edge settings to use Bing and not any other search engine. So, and that's what I do, obviously, for the points.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so, see, there you go, European Union. Pay attention.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seems kind of silly, because you'd want... Obviously, it's default because that's theirs. They're like, here, this is just an easy default, and then you can explore and change it as you go if you find something else new, and that's kind of the nice thing about Android, I feel. But,
yeah.
Well, what's weird to me about this is that it actually kind of seems like possibly the reason that they're getting fined is because you can change it, because you can change the defaults, whereas Apple, they don't let you change jack diddly in there, and apparently the EU doesn't care about that.
Yeah, I've always found that weird.
Which is a little weird.
It's interesting because, like, this exact same thing happened to Windows about 10 15 years ago with Windows. It happened to Microsoft with Windows because the default of everything, obviously, and still was Internet Explorer back then, now Edge.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, they wanted them... I remember when you set up a Windows computer back then, it would ask you, do you want this browser, this browser, this browser, or this browser? And then you could pick, and it would download whichever one you wanted.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't do that. And I would think that, they would have a bigger issue with the way Microsoft does things now, because anytime I open up Chrome, oh, by the way, do you want to use Edge? It does this and this and this and this. I'm like, no, shut up.
You know,
You'd think that'd be a bigger issue.
I was going to say, you know, that stops when you start using Edge. I've never seen that. Go figure.
I'm not going to use Edge. Sorry, Wes.
No, it was just funny. It was just funny. No, I get it. Because I think it was what? Less than 10 years ago, it was the antivirus thing. Windows just had their normal antivirus that they let out there, and then, what was it? That Russian antivirus. Is it Kaspersky?
I don't know.
That antivirus. Anyway, they were getting mad at Windows that the default was theirs and not... I can't remember. I wish I could remember the name, but it started with a K.
Yeah.
It wasn't McAfee, but it was like something. Anyway, but yeah, they fight that stuff.
Yeah.
Do all the time.
I don't know. I actually kind of wonder if it's just because, like, if it's got something to do with the fact that the operating system and the apps are running on third-party hardware. Like, if it's the kind of thing where the issue that the EU is having is not necessarily that Android is defining default apps as much as it is that they're specifically telling, or they're forcing third-party vendors like LG and Samsung to include those apps on all of their phones, whether they want them there or not. And that's another place where Apple wouldn't have an issue because nothing else besides Apple's devices runs the OS. I'm just trying to think of like why it is that Google got fined for this, but Apple hasn't been. Because Apple preloads all of their phones with a whole bunch of default apps, and you can't even delete those things. Like, they are there to stay. You can hide them from the home screen now, which is nice, I guess, but like, I'm just that seems like that's the only difference, is that Apple, you can't actually change stuff, and you also can't run it on anyone else's hardware. So I don't know. I wonder if that's got something to do with it. It just seems like a really weird thing to get upset about. But then sometimes I do feel like the EU gets upset about some really weird things. So
sometimes,
a lot of times.
Yeah, I kind of get where they're coming from in that regard, because there's third-party manufacturers that are using this software, but if they want this, it's the thing. And Sundar Pichai wrote this big long blog post explaining all this. But like, obviously, you can use Android and not use these apps, because look at Amazon and their Fire OS. It is Android. They're just not using Google's services, so they don't have to use any of Google's apps, which they do not. And then you look at Samsung, who's also running Android, does use Google's services, so they have the Play Store and all that stuff, but they have all their own default. And that's the thing, on Samsung devices, their own apps are the default. So like, Samsung has their own browser. They even had their own app store for a while. I don't know if they still do or not, but they did.
I don't think so.
And that was the default back in the day. And like, so I don't know. I don't know. I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
Google is obviously going to be appealing this. I don't know. I don't see how this is any different. Well, I see how why they're doing it now, or kind of doing it, because of similar how they did it to Microsoft back in the day. But I don't see why they don't still do it to Microsoft, because of how it is. Because Microsoft's basically doing the same thing now that they were back then, and the EU doesn't have any issues with it.
Well, I think they paid their money. That was the big... They were like, here's the settlement
Well, this
money.
wouldn't just be a one-time fine. This is like, you need to do this, or you're going to get fined for like this much for however often every year or something like that. Because
I don't know.
The EU just likes to make laws for making laws' sake, I guess. I don't know. And
yeah,
I don't know. It's a weird situation, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested to see what ends up happening with all this. If Google does decide to change anything, they have 90 days apparently to change things. But the problem I see is, like, Google makes money mostly from advertising, obviously, but a lot of it also comes from services, and these are their core services. And since they're offering these services for free to all these manufacturers, if they can't do this the way they do it now, then they're potentially going to have to charge for these services, which would make getting an Android phone a lot more difficult and potentially cost more.
Yeah.
And that's not customer friendly. Like, I know the EU is trying, like, their reasoning behind some of this is, it's better for customers. No, it's not.
Well, it's just really interesting because it's the kind of thing where I can see some of the arguments behind this kind of legislation being good for consumers, like a very pro-consumer kind of viewpoint. But at the same time, that viewpoint kind of fails to take into account the way that most large companies will respond to this sort of thing, because the way that they will respond is not pro-consumer. They will respond in a very anti-consumer but technically legal way, and that will just make everything worse for everyone, and it will be the EU's fault. So,
yes,
why would you? I don't know. I mean, intentions are probably in the right place, but the actual methodology behind enacting those intentions may or may not be effective. That's as political as I'm going to get today.
Yeah, I agree. So we can end right there.
Okay.
You can, if you want to learn more about it, there's articles everywhere. So, okay, the next thing, Samsung is supposedly announcing a Bixby speaker in the next few weeks, according to the Wall Street Journal, and where everyone's thinking that it's going to be at the same time as the Note 9, which is rumored to be announced on August 9th. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Because we need more Bixby in our lives.
Yeah, apparently.
The default button on any Samsung phone is not enough.
I have no Bixby in my life, so I'm pretty sure that I need more, right?
Obviously.
In fact, multiples of what I currently have would be just great.
Multiples of zero.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. Multiples of zero.
So this is rumored to cost around $300. Which leads me to believe that they're focusing similarly to what Apple did with the HomePod and what Google is doing with the Google Home Max in having a better sounding speaker rather than focusing on some of the smart things, hopefully, because Bixby is not smart in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, is anybody
unless
surprised
you want
by
to
that?
change the settings on your phone.
Yeah, well, unless you have a Samsung phone, I guess.
Even on Samsung phones, everyone that's got one that has tried Bixby says it doesn't do a whole lot. The one thing I could see this being beneficial if they do this is if they make it like a smart home hub for their smart things platform. So, they've got refrigerators and washers and dryers and TVs and stuff that use these smart things platform.
Yeah.
And if they make it so it can control a lot of these type of devices, then I could see it potentially being useful. If it's just Bixby as is right now, no, not useful at all, other than a potentially not good sounding Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah.
Which you can probably get a better one for the same price. So, I don't know.
That does sound better than what I thought. I mean, just them cashing in on these digital assistants, I guess.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people have Samsung products, like TVs, obviously, number one.
Right.
And I could see them trying to connect everything that way, I guess. So
yeah, that's the only way I could see this actually being useful and actually making them any money.
Yeah.
Is if they were to make it a smart things hub for all their other stuff. So, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
The next thing that I have is Corning, the company behind Gorilla Glass, has announced a new version, Gorilla Glass 6. It's supposed to be at least twice as durable as the previous iteration, which came out 2 years ago, so it's been a while. They say this helps increase, on average, the likelihood of survival through multiple drop events. And during their testing, they said it survived, on average, 15 1-meter drops onto rough surfaces. That's pretty good.
yeah.
And this is testing with a phone. I don't know what phone they were using, but probably just some generic
Yeah, it was probably
phone-shaped device.
It probably wasn't even a real phone. It was probably just like a dummy phone that is like, this is approximately the same dimension and weight as most smartphones, so let's drop it a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, pretty much. So, that's kind of cool to see that they're, making better products.
Yeah.
This is something that we'll see probably on no flagships coming out this year. Except for maybe the iPhone.
The iPhone comes late enough.
And the Pixel.
And the Pixel.
Potentially, yeah. Those are the only two that I could see it actually coming out on. But even then, that's kind of pushing it.
It would be.
They would have had to have... Corning would have had to have worked with them starting a year ago on this.
Well,
it's possible.
To be fair, Apple and Google have both put seed money into Corning at various points in the past. So very Corning has a very close relationship with both of them. So I actually think there's a 50-50 chance we're going to be seeing Gorilla Glass 6 on the iPhone and possibly the Pixel as well this fall.
That would be nice. I'm hoping for that.
That's what I'm hoping for too, because I'm buying a new iPhone this fall.
Yeah, I'm buying a new Pixel this fall. So yes, I'm also hoping for that. So yeah, expect if it's not on these phones, obviously it will be on pretty much every flagship next year. Cool. I also want to see this on watches.
Yeah.
Say like a new Apple Watch or a new potential Pixel Watch or something like that.
The Apple Watch uses Sapphire on the
higher end ones.
On the higher end ones.
Not if they were to put this on their Sport.
Well, but they're not using Gorilla Glass 5 on the Sport either. They're using some kind of custom...
use a plastic.
It's not like a straight plastic, but they're using some kind of custom glass that...
Yeah.
And they may have developed that glass in concert with Corning too. I'm not even sure, but they're using something different that's supposed to be more about impact resistance and less about scratch resistance, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's where this could be beneficial, because they didn't mention anything about extra scratch resistance on this new glass.
Yeah, but you'd assume it would be at least as scratch resistant as Gorilla Glass 5, because...
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. They didn't say they made that any better. They're talking all about the impact, and so that's why this could be better on a watch.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it will be on a watch. I'm hoping it will be.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yes, it would.
Anyways.
I don't do a lot of watches, but I will take your word for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all of my tech news for today. I have some gaming news. I'll save that for later.
Ooh.
Sweet.
Prepared. All right. Well, let's move on to a little bit of Microsoft. There's not too much, so it'll go by pretty fast. All right, so the first thing I wanted to bring up is the Microsoft Store actually gets improved design on Windows 10. I thought that was pretty cool. I know that's a big complaint of a lot of people, that it just looks pretty bad and janky.
But it's not even necessarily. It's not necessarily that it looks bad either. It is just confusing.
Yes,
there's just a lot going on, and
I think what it is because with me being in the Windows ecosystem, I was okay with it.
Yeah.
And so when I'd hear this stuff, I just knew how to navigate it. Is the big point. And I think now not a lot of people used it. So Windows 10 borrowed a lot from their Windows 10 or Windows mobile platform, I've noticed.
Yeah.
And so they just brought everything in that way. And so not a lot of people were using that. So that's why it could have been confusing. But I was looking at it now, and it looks really cool, and they're starting to get things arranged to where it's easier for everybody. So, thought that was pretty cool. Not a lot of people use the Windows or the Microsoft Store, but hey, there you go.
Maybe this will get more people to use it. Hopefully, for them.
Yeah. Another thing I did want to mention that Microsoft did post a lot of numbers for this quarter for their fiscal year, really high. They said that they had surpassed $100 billion in revenue.
Wow.
I thought that was pretty cool. And the one thing I did want to point out is they kind of broke down a couple of different things. Was so the personal computing, they said on here, with $10.8 billion in revenues, up to 17% year over year, which we don't know where the start of that was, obviously. So I guess we take this by that apparently they're going up. But next thing, Windows revenue from PC makers jumped 7%. Surface revenue was up 25%. And gaming revenue was up 39%.
Oh, dang.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
How much of that do you think Game Pass has to do with?
That was the big portion.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that probably is all of that
It was a lot. Well, Game
most of
Pass,
that.
the X, all the stuff that they're doing with adding the PC, everything just skyrocketed.
They're actually starting to make some headway against PlayStation with this with this generation of consoles.
Yeah, they're really making it happen. Thank you, Phil Spencer.
Yes.
It's working, whatever he's doing. So I thought that was pretty cool.
My favorite thing is that it seems like what Phil Spencer is doing is basically just not even caring. Like,
yeah, well, I think he's just calling people out. Like
he like shows up to work and is just like, what do I want out of my gaming services and gaming platform? And then just kind of like, yeah, let's do that. And that's all they've been doing. And it turns out that's a really good way to do business.
Yeah. Well,
think about what your customers would want and then give it to them.
What?
Well, listening to the customers and feedback and including everybody.
I know, it's bizarre.
It's a weird concept.
I know.
Yeah.
And I mean, the numbers show.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. I being in the Windows atmosphere or Xbox alone, I guess, I'm a very happy gamer. And
that is good.
It's improving, so I really enjoy it on that standpoint. And I just thought 39%. I was like, dang.
That's a bunch.
That's worth noting.
That's a bunch.
So out of 100 billion, 39% of that, he's doing something right. So the next thing I did want to kind of talk about, I thought would be kind of cool for us to discuss a little bit. This is actually coming from, obviously, Paul Thurrott's website. This article is called Tech Giants Join Forces to Enable Seamless Data Transfer Across Platforms. So it says Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and Twitter are launching a new project to enable seamless transfer of data across these platforms. They're going to call it the Data Transfer Project. They have an acronym of DTP. Kind of sounds like a wrestler. Anyway, sorry. I'm a fan of that. But anyway, it says the DTP involves making use of existing APIs and authorization mechanisms to build a system whereby users can simply take data from one platform or cloud service to another without having to manually do it themselves. And I thought that was really cool. The reason why I think that's cool is because I've been contemplating of moving my OneDrive things over to Google and actually start using the Google Drive for pictures and things like that. Obviously, since I have a Pixel, I get unlimited picture data, the data for it. Excuse me. And so they were talking about that it's just that simple, that they're starting to do that. And I'm like, that's really cool. Now, the two companies, I don't know 100% why, but Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, I could see if you want to transfer any personal data from these websites. Like, I mean, Facebook, you obviously are going to have potentially a lot of pictures on Facebook.
True.
You can. They have made it possible to download all of these files to your hard drive, or like to your computer yourself. But being able to just transfer these automatically over to a cloud storage would be awfully convenient.
Yep, for sure.
That's how I see Facebook and Twitter getting into this, or being part of it, is being able to put that information on the cloud wherever you store everything else already, instead of downloading it to your device and then re-uploading it to your cloud storage.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm seeing that play of it.
And then he did talk a little bit more on kind of what ifs. He says the DTP would make things significantly better, not only for users, but also for developers building the world's leading platforms. Just imagine being able to transfer your biometric data or location history from a service like Google Maps to Foursquare or your Microsoft account. Or better yet, imagine being able to move your music from Apple Music to Spotify without going through the hassle of doing things manually.
That would be amazing.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
That's like my biggest complaint with like streaming services of any kind, is that especially with music, like I have a big library built up of stuff, and like if I were to try and switch from Apple Music to any other streaming music service right now, I would have to build that library back up from scratch, and it would be a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So it'd be really nice if I could just go, this is all the stuff I have over here. If you have it also, add it to my library, put it into these playlists, like, do this thing.
Yeah,
save me some time.
Very nice. I thought it was pretty cool, something that we could discuss on there. So that's like, for one, like I said, for me, I was like, oh man, all the data I have on my OneDrive and the stuff that I'd like to move, that would be great to just be like, yeah, all this, move it over on that. Because as I was talking to Landon before, I subscribe to Office 365 just for the data. Like I don't use Excel or Word or anything at the moment. And so, but with Google, I know they were talking about selling data, so they could, or selling like a terabyte of data a month, or you can pay something like that a month and make it easier and share that data. And I was like, oh, that would be actually really dope to pay. I can't remember the prices, but it was like $2 a month, and you get like shared like 5 terabytes or something of data. And I'm like, that would be pretty dope. So to me, that sounds really interesting and make it even easier to send it over. So I thought that was cool. They didn't come out with a date of when this was, but I saw that they're working on this, and I'm like, that's really cool. Yeah. I guess Facebook, if they have those implications of even moving all those pictures you posted over easy that way, I guess I could see that.
Well, yeah. And like you think about it with Facebook, like this is something that like we really haven't had to deal with much on the internet before, but with Facebook and that kind of thing, the way that everything is set up with your friendships and that kind of thing, if you tag people in your stuff and they see it and they add it to their timeline, and then you deactivate your account or you block them or something like that at some point in the future, they lose that content that was on their timeline that they were tagged in, and they have no way of getting it back. And so like if Facebook were to give you the option to be able to like take all of the pictures that you were tagged in and all of the comments and stuff and then export them to Google Photos via some kind of API or something like that would be really helpful for trying to back up some of this stuff. Because, I mean, let's be honest, social media has taken the place of journals for like 99% of anybody who ever kept a journal. So, you know, that's where we're recording our personal histories. And, yeah, it's the kind of stuff that like our kids may at some point in time want to read and find out just exactly how stupid dad was during high school and that kind of thing. And so, you know, it'd be really nice if we could transfer that data from one place to another. And actually, you look back to the original social media platform, MySpace, like all this stuff that was on MySpace, it's basically just gone. Like anybody who had a whole bunch of content on MySpace and that kind of thing, there was no way to export that, to save it and that kind of thing. And it would be really nice if when one of these social media platforms starts waning in popularity and starts dying out, if you could take all of your data from that platform and just shoot it over to whatever the new thing is you want to use, and then just keep going with it there without ever losing anything. That would be fantastic and a great way to kind of just keep a consistent thread of your social media history going from one service to the next.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. Didn't think of that. Yeah, MySpace. It's okay. My data from MySpace can die. I'm okay with that.
I think most people are okay with that because we really did not know how to use social media at the time.
Idiots.
You know, I set up a MySpace account. I think I had 5 friends, and then I was like, this is stupid, so I left after like 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
I had one, like, I think MySpace came out like, or it got popular like my senior year, and I never hopped on that. And then later, people were like, all about MySpace, so I got one, and then I didn't really use it. And then obviously Facebook came out, and then I only had it just because some people were like, oh, it's a new thing, this is how we can communicate. And I'm like, eh.
See, I got on Facebook actually pretty early.
Did you?
Like, it's funny because most of the people I'm friends with on Facebook that I was friends with in high school started, like, it shows, like, it'll sometimes show how long you've been friends with that person. I'm like, I was on Facebook for like 2 years before that. Why did this happen?
That's hilarious.
I don't know how I got onto it so early, but I did. Because I remember when I got onto it, it was still technically only supposed to be for college kids.
Oh, yeah.
It was after it broke out into all universities in the U.S., but somehow I was able to get onto it when I was still in high school, like a sophomore in high school or something like that.
Crazy.
And,
wow. All right. Well, anyway, I think we have said what we wanted to say about that. And if you wanted to learn more about that, the article was on paulthurrott.com, or thurrott.com, Paul Thurrott's website on there. So,
yeah. And
that's all I have, really, I wanted to share there. I do have some gaming news, which we'll get to later. So, Spen Love, the floor is yours.
All right. Okay. This is like makes my heart happy.
Oh boy.
The 2018 MacBook Pro has the fastest SSD in a laptop ever.
Makes sense.
Just
mic drop.
Ever. And it's like, it's legit, like, I mean, so you go and you look at the, excuse me, the NVMe, like PCIe based storage solutions that have been on desktops for a couple of years now. They're starting to become more common. The vast majority of those aren't as fast as this. And the reason for that is that when you plug in, okay, I'm not really sure how much detail our listeners really want me to go into here, but I'm just going to give you as much detail as I want to, so you just get to bear with me. So the PCIe bus in a computer is like kind of divided up into like divisible by 4 segments, and there's PCIe 16x slots. Those are what you use for your graphics cards, and so much data passes through those slots that it's just nuts. Like, it's amazing amount of data throughput, and they're really fast. Then you have smaller slots that are X4 slots or X1 depending on how you want to think about it, but they have 4 PCIe lanes instead of 16. And those things are obviously a lot faster than traditional SATA hard drives, but they're nowhere near as fast as a 16x slot. And that's what we have been using for PCIe-based SSDs so far, with the exception of a few extremely fast workstations up to this point. The iMac Pro is one of them. So the SSD in an iMac Pro is actually faster than these new MacBook Pros by just a little bit. And the reason for that is that they're actually using like the Thunderbolt controller for the Thunderbolt ports on the back to handle that data. And that is a full-on 16x data connection instead of 4x. And so it's just a lot more data can go through. And it's basically, it's not necessarily that the data is moving any faster, but there's just a much wider highway for it to move along. And so you end up with a lot more simultaneous read and write data off of your SSD, which has the effect of speeding up how quickly you can get data into or out of storage. So that's pretty cool on the iMac Pro. The reason we've never really seen this in a laptop before is because like laptops have space constraints and that kind of thing. And the silicon, I don't know, the availability of space in a laptop really kind of limits what you can do with this kind of thing, unless you're an idiot and a jerk like Apple is. Because Apple has no qualms about just taking their RAM modules and soldering the RAM chips directly onto the freaking logic board of the computer. Yeah. Which makes it so that you can't upgrade your RAM at any point in the future and is really obnoxious. But it also means that they're able to use a full-on 16x wide PCIe lane on the CPU in order to access that storage. And that means that you have significantly faster read and write speeds than you would otherwise have. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, there you go. The fastest SSD ever. An interesting side note, at least in part, this is actually probably due to the APFS file system that Apple implemented in macOS last year. I don't really know how big of a difference that's making, but that particular that particular file system really, really focuses on copying files to and from memory to the hard drive and back and that kind of thing. And it's really good at that sort of thing, which might be artificially inflating those numbers, but I'm not going to complain because bragging rights. At least once I buy one. Okay, so iFixit, they did a teardown.
Yes, this is what I'm interested in.
Yeah. So they tore down the 13-inch model, I believe. I think they were doing a teardown of a 15-inch, but I don't think they've finished that one yet, if they're going to be posting an actual teardown for it on their website at all. But they did post a teardown of the 13-inch model. I was sorely disappointed. Some people may have guessed based on the fact that I basically just said that they were soldering their SSD to the logic board, that you can't upgrade your storage. And if you can't upgrade your SSD, why on earth would they let you upgrade your RAM or CPU or anything else? So, yep. You buy that with what you want in it for life, because
that's disappointing.
You ain't going to get nothing else out of there, with the exception of the graphics card, I guess, because you can't get an external GPU enclosure and put a new graphics card in there. So there's that at least. But yeah, I don't think anybody's really surprised. I was holding out just the longest stretch of hope ever.
Yeah, but, I was kind of the same way. I was really hoping that maybe something was going to be upgradable.
Yeah.
At least one thing.
Yeah. It would have been nice. Would have been really nice. So yeah. One thing that iFixit's teardown did reveal, however, was these little silicon film things underneath every keycap on the keyboard. Yeah. Which Apple said when they released the thing that this is the quietest keyboard, or this is a new quieter version of our butterfly switch mechanism keyboard. And the silicon definitely does make it quieter. What iFixit thinks is that the silicon was put there for ingress dust protection to keep stuff from getting stuck underneath the keys and stopping them from working. And that the fact that the keyboard is quieter is just kind of a happy side effect of sticking a whole bunch of silicon underneath all of your keys.
That's exactly what I think as well.
Yeah. And actually, Apple released a couple of internal support memos just a couple of days ago that don't outright confirm this to be the case, but they do suggest pretty strongly that was kind of how it went. And they chose to go with the quieter keyboard thing on the marketing side of things because they have a whole bunch of class action lawsuits about the second generation of this keyboard being like a total failure point in the laptops. And if they admit that there was a problem, then that kind of hurts their chances of actually like winning those lawsuits. So,
and they would have to not just have a repair program, but a replacement program.
Yes.
And they'd have to cost them a lot of money.
They'd pretty much have to replace all of them.
Which would actually make me tempted to buy one of those laptops.
Nah, you want the 6-core CPU. Come on. You want the 6-core CPU.
You're right. You're right, I do.
Wow, that was a quick turnaround.
It does not take much.
The only thing that would make it tempting is just because it would be cheaper, and I'd get an upgraded keyboard out of it.
Yeah, okay.
But you're right. I do want I want more RAM. I want the better processor.
I mean, really what it comes right down to is you want the first Intel CPU in like 5 years that actually feels like a massive step forward from the previous generation.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Okay. So yeah, that's the latest news about the 2018 MacBook Pros. I am probably going to get one. That said, I think I have managed to talk myself out of springing the extra like $300 for the i9 version, because these things, like the thermal footprint of the MacBook Pro has never been particularly awesome. Like they tend to get quite hot, and in terms of laptops, they will burn the snot out of your legs. Like I've done that before. You be careful with those things.
I did that with my plastic unibody MacBook.
Oh yeah. Now imagine that with aluminum.
Yeah, exactly.
It's bad. So yeah, not great. And the i9 generates a significant amount of heat more than the i7 does. It mostly just comes down to clock speed. The thing is clocked higher and it runs faster, and so it peaks out, and there's been pretty compelling evidence that suggests that the thing actually thermal throttles under load down to being slower than the i7 does. So if you're using it for like burst tasks where you only need the full power of the CPU for a very short period of time, then the i9 is going to be ridiculously faster than the i7. But if you need like an extended load, like if you're going to be rendering video or something like that, where it's going to be using 100% of the CPU for an extended period of time, you might actually be better off getting the i7. Costs less money, might actually do it faster. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I've landed. So I'm going to save myself $300 and maybe spend that $300 instead on an upgrade to the internal storage, or possibly, RAM costs so much, man.
See, I'm going more towards the RAM side of things, because that's where I'm going to benefit the most, is with extra RAM.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, having 16 gigs of RAM on the 15-inch, the one that I'm looking at, already is going to be a massive upgrade from what I'm at.
Yep.
But I don't know. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to need it for, I don't necessarily need the extra storage. I don't know. I'm still debating on that, if I want the extra storage or the RAM. I'm leaning towards the RAM, though.
Yeah. It's very much a case of like whether or not you just need the, like, if you need to edit like video files or audio files or stuff like that directly off of the hard drive, then more storage is probably going to be better than more RAM, especially considering how fast this storage is. Because that's something else to consider. Like, we are getting to the point now where SSDs read and write, I mean, within a reasonable speed in relation to RAM. And you can almost just replace RAM with storage. And that's pretty cool. So we'll see. If it starts getting better, if it keeps getting better like it has been getting better, then RAM and storage may just stop being different. And everything will just read directly from the main storage drive.
Yeah.
But anyways, so good times. I will buy one eventually, and then I'll actually have like a review or something like that. This last week we had World Emoji Day, which is a thing.
And I didn't know about until just now.
I wanted to mention it solely because Apple replaced the like on their website, they have a page that has like pictures and bios of all of the executives of the company. They replaced all of their faces with memojis for World Emoji Day. And I just like, it was kind of like, just like cutesy, kind of stupid. And I totally wouldn't mention it if it wasn't for the fact that Johnny Ive's memoji had the exact same deadpan expression as Johnny Ive does in his actual photo on the website. And it looked so much like him. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So if you're really curious what Johnny Ive as an animated cartoon character would look like, you should go check out a picture for Apple's executives on World Emoji Day. Okay. Couple of pieces of general tech news here. First, Intel's 8th gen mobile chips, which are codenamed Amber Lake because why not?
Sure.
So some details for those things have leaked. Intel told us at Computex that those things were going to be coming the end of this year, but a Brazil version of Dell's corporate website accidentally posted a a spec sheet for a Dell XPS 13 that had these things in it. And so...
How convenient.
Yeah, I know. Super fantastic. So we got some details on clock speeds and what the TDP of them might be and stuff like that. But mainly what I wanted to mention with it is that we're expecting a refresh to the MacBook lineup this fall, and I'm betting these chips are going to be in it. As well as every other small, like 12 to 13 inch, super thin, ultra portable laptop, you will probably be seeing these chips in all of those. So we're expecting an appreciable spec bump over the previous generation, but I don't think we're going to be seeing anything like what the current generation of like the i-series core chips have really brought to the table. But I don't know, if you're really into the super portable space, then cool, good stuff. And last thing, which is just convenient timing since I mentioned this for the first time last week, Comcast bows out of the Fox bidding war with Disney, so it will be Disney getting it, but Comcast did manage to get them to pay more money for it than they were originally going to do, so if nothing else, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go. That's actually... I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, actually, especially since I just saw the new Jurassic World, and that was a Universal production, and Universal is owned by Comcast, and that was nowhere near as good as Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, again,
I still need to see Ant-Man and Wasp.
I'm going with Disney here. They totally win.
No, it makes sense.
Over Comcast. They win over Comcast.
Yep. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and let's move to our next segment, which is gaming. And I think Landon should do the honors.
Okay, I will start. I've got one piece of gaming news. Anybody on Android that has been envious of all those iOS users of Alto's Odyssey for the past 4 months.
As you should be.
As you should be. Start to rejoice. July 26th is the official release date of Alto's Odyssey on Android.
Awesome.
Like I mentioned a week or two ago, or whenever that was, pre-registration is open. Has been for a couple weeks. Just look up Alto's Odyssey in the Play Store, and you can pre-register and get notified for when it officially is available. And I did this with Alto's Adventure when it first came out on Android, and I remember getting it about a day earlier than what they said. Ooh. So pre-registering might be beneficial for you. So I am very much so looking forward to this because this game looks amazing. Everything I've heard from Caleb is that it is amazing.
It is amazing.
So
it is amazing.
Yes.
That is.
So I'm excited.
In fact, maybe I'll just start playing it right now.
Right at this moment.
Shut up.
Shut up. Go ahead and stream that just so we can see. All right. Moving on, I'll go ahead and I've got 2 pieces of gaming news, but I'm sure Caleb might have one of them, so we'll see.
I only have one piece of gaming news, so if you take my one piece of gaming news from me, I will be very upset.
Maybe not. We'll see. All right. So all of us Xbox fans, and I had 8 things hit me at once. I was about to say it all at once, but that's...
If you want, I can hit you just for fun.
Yeah, go ahead. Smack. All right. Xbox launches the Ultimate Game Sale. So through July 19th through the 30th, you can save up to 65% on select Xbox games.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. So obviously there's over like 700 games and add-on packs and everything for like State of Decay 2, Sea of Thieves, Far Cry, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Fortnite, and more. You can save a lot of money if you're looking for a certain game. I went through and just quickly looked at some. Obviously, if you're looking for, I don't know, a cheap game that'll last you a long time, I know that Caleb can say this, $20 for Witcher 3. That gives you 200 hours of gameplay.
Oh, yeah, if you're really fast and you never die and you don't actually watch any of the cutscenes, and yeah.
Hey, there you go.
There's
a Witcher.
Huge game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And a lot of these that are on sale, I was looking, if you're ever into the now Xbox / Microsoft rewards program, if you're a part of that, you get the rewards for these, and you use these points that give you points, and then the points give you all sorts of things. You can redeem them for Xbox credit. You can do Game Pass, gold, all these other things. But one thing I saw that some of these, even though they're on sale, say like you have a $30 game and it's on sale for half off for $15, you still get the $30 credit or points. So you get so it's like dollar for dollar. Or dollar for point, so you'll get the 30 points instead of just the 15.
Nice.
So
that's cool.
It is pretty cool. So you got to take a look at some of those if you're a part of that program. I know it just came to Xbox, and they've got it all to where it's all one thing now. Because it used to be just Xbox rewards, and then you had like Bing rewards, and then you had Microsoft rewards. It's all now one big thing, so you can just keep getting those rewards more and more. I use it, like I said, for the Xbox services. So, I haven't paid for Xbox Gold in a long time, or the Game Pass. So, because I just keep doing this and then get, a full year of Xbox Gold, and there you go. So, it's pretty cool.
Cool.
Speaking of subscriptions, 1 year of Xbox Live Gold is just $40, down from $60.
Nice.
And my phone just shut off on me. I apologize. And 3 months of Xbox Game Pass is just $10. That's basically 1 month, the price of 1 month that you get 3 months. And with Game Pass, I've mentioned and been an advocate of it before. I would recommend this if you're new or even have a bunch of games. This gives you an opportunity to just play games that you're not sure about and don't want to spend $60 on. So, thought it was pretty cool. The next is, if you buy an Xbox One X, you will get a $30 Xbox gift card. There are various Xbox One S bundles on sale too. For example, you can purchase an S1 terabyte console, and you will get a free pig controller, which is the Minecraft pig, and it's just the skin on your controller.
Right.
Which controllers are like $60. So
yeah, no, that's a good deal.
And The select Windows 10 games are up to 50% off. So
Nice.
PC users, go ahead and take a look at that. If there could be many deals on there, especially for the Xbox Play Anywhere and cross-play games, I would recommend on there. So,
very cool.
Next thing, I'm going to go ahead and just say this and see if Caleb has this. I was going to talk about the Sea of Thieves update.
Oh, no, that was not what I was going to talk about. And
All
come
right.
on, it has been so long since I've played Sea of Thieves because, like, my ping on Sea of Thieves would be like 6 million milliseconds or something like that with my old internet, so...
But you have new internet.
I have new internet as of this morning, so I can finally play it again.
Yes. And join us. Join us in this, because guess what? Coming out at the end of the month, the Cursed Sails.
Yeah.
Yes. So what does the Cursed Sails bring us on this campaign? Well, it brings us a new ship that you can have. It's a 3-man ship. I wish I knew how to actually say it, but is it the Brigantine? Brigantine? I want you to look at that word and make sure that B-R-I-G...
Sure, why not?
Brigantine? I'll just call it Brigantine ship. People can email me and tell me I'm retarded later, but...
People are yelling at their phones. It's this, it's this.
That's this!
Yeah, like, record yourself saying it correctly and then email it to... What's our email address?
Podcast at callingallplatforms.com.
There you go. Email it to that, and then we'll play it on next week's podcast so that we can all hear how wrong Wes was.
How
He
terribly
was
wrong.
trying to say it.
Yes.
Well, you know, there would be a lot of stuff because people would be like, Wes, you're wrong here, and here, and here, and here. Why not?
Ooh, we
That's why
can
we
make a
have
new
to-
segment. Please do this.
Tell Wes why he's wrong.
We can have a whole segment. Why Wes is wrong.
I would actually really enjoy that. Please do.
www. Why Wes is wrong.
All right, continuing here on the Cursed Sails, but you can also, for players, when you get the Brigantine ship, you can also form alliances. When before, there wasn't really an alliance thing, like you'd kind of get up to an enemy ship and you'd be like, hey, I want to do this, but they could really still just backstab you if they wanted to. But I guess in this new system, you can actually say, hey, they're not on our team, but those are friendly, and you can go do bigger raids and bigger things like that. So that's kind of a cool little thing. But the big thing that they're talking about is the new skeleton ships.
Yeah.
If you watch the video, it shows that the skeleton ships will actually come up and out of the water and start shooting at you and go down into the water again.
Fun.
I know.
Yep.
It looks so cool. By the way, I hadn't played Sea of Thieves in a long time either, and I got back on the other day. And because my brother, he's a streamer, so I was kind of messing with him. But apparently that Megalodon likes to follow ships, and it's actually pretty scary.
Oh,
When you're on the ship, and the Megalodon's bigger than the ship you're on, and it just kind of pops its fin up and swims in front of you, and you're just like, I don't know what to do right now. Do we just keep going, take a left? But yeah, it'll just pop up randomly and then leave. And just like, ah!
Oh my gosh, I saw the most hilarious thing on YouTube. There was somebody playing Sea of Thieves, and they're on a galleon. They're like up at the wheel, and all the tentacles for the Kraken popped up in the water all around them, you know, and they're sitting there trying to shoot the tentacles. And then the Megalodon comes around and starts circling the ship and then comes in for the strike. It's like they got the Megalodon and the Kraken at the same time. The best thing ever, though, because the Megalodon will do the thing where it, like, jumps up out of the water and, like, grabs somebody off of the deck and, like, jumps over the ship and takes them into the water with him. Uh-huh. And so it jumped up to grab somebody, and at that exact second, the Kraken wrapped one of its tentacles around the ship and punched the Megalodon into the stratosphere. It was the funniest thing. Just, like, all of a sudden,
That's
there's this
amazing.
giant shark pops up out of the water, and then, pow! Giant tentacle, and it's gone.
Wow.
It was fantastic.
I kind of want to see that YouTube episode. Or that'd be kind of cool.
That's awesome.
It was an episode of Highlight Reel, actually, like, that I saw that. So,
Okay.
Not sure if it was the last one or the one before. Something last week. But yeah, should
But
look it
also-
up. It's fantastic.
But also, when I hopped on, I didn't realize that now skeletons can hold gunpowder barrels and just run at you and blow up. So beware of that, because they spawn all the time, randomly, and just... It sucks. I die a lot now. But anyway, the Sea of Thieves Cursed Sails is going to be available for Xbox One users on the 31st of July. And it is a free content update for anyone who owns the game or is subscribed to Game Pass.
bonus.
Yep. So, friggin' sweet. And that's all the gaming news that I have. So,
all right.
Spend Love, take it away.
Just the Overwatch League, which is currently in the throes of finals season, which is awesome. So, as of last week, we had the New York XL, and they're the number one seeded team. They were a shoo-in for finals. The Philadelphia, oh my gosh, what Fusion? Philadelphia Fusion. They were playing to try and get into finals, or into the semifinals, and they ended up winning their matches and against the Boston Uprising, and they are playing currently New York Excelsior in the semifinals for the chance to get into the finals match. This time last week, we didn't actually know how things were going to shake out on the other side of the semifinals playoff, because the LA Gladiators were still playing the London Spitfire to try and find out who was going to get into the semifinals. Gladiators walked all over the Spitfire for the first of the 3 match set, and then got their trash handed to them on the other 2 matches. So I was super disappointed, because I'm very much a Gladiators fan. But London made it into semifinals instead, where they are playing currently the LA Valiant. Now, where we stand so far is London has actually beaten Valiant in the semifinals, which means that the London Spitfire will be one of the 2 teams in the finals. And currently, the Philadelphia Fusion, which are seed number 6, have beaten the New York Excel, who are seed number 1, in 1 match. And they actually kind of just walked off with the victory. Like, New York wasn't even there as far as I could tell. So, they got to win 1 more. So, if tomorrow Philadelphia can manage to pull off 1 victory against New York, we're going to have London, who is seed number 5, versus Philadelphia, seed number 6 in the finals, and seeds 1 through 4 all got eliminated, which would actually be just kind of beautiful, and I'm sort of hoping that's exactly what happens. So, yeah.
What an underdog story.
Yeah, right? I love it. So that's my update on the Overwatch League. I'm actually really excited, because this actually feels like playoffs. It actually feels like a real sport, and I actually don't feel like an idiot for following it. So that's a nice change.
That's a nice change. Well, all right. I don't know what to say to that, but that's awesome. Thank you for the update.
And on a high note.
Yeah, on a high note. Well, awesome. I think, unless anyone has anything else to say, I think we're done.
I'm done.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening. And if you do enjoy what you hear, please subscribe to us. Or if you want to interact with us, please go to our website, which is callingallplatforms.com. Or if you want to see Caleb and his gaming, go ahead and check out our YouTube channel, which is callingallplatformsgames.com. No, games?
No.
I messed it up.
Just on YouTube, just search for Calling All Platforms and find it.
Or go to the website. All the links are there.
Yep. So awesome. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Bye-bye.
See ya.